Hey guys, how's it going? This is Moby from Moby Motion, and today I'm going to be showing you how to make virtual reality videos in Blender. Now, you might have seen 360-degree videos where you can look all the way around and there's video everywhere. But Blender introduced a feature recently which lets you add some depth to these videos as well. So it actually renders out a separate image for the right eye and the left eye that makes it 3D when you view it through virtual reality goggles like Google Cardboard. So it's a really great new feature. I'm going to be showing you how to render scenes in this new format and how to upload them to YouTube as well. So to start with, we're just going to make a very simple space scene, and it's going to look like you're in space and that you're flying through some stars. If you have a scene already in mind that you'd like to just render in virtual reality, feel free to just skip this and I'll have a link up there so you can do that. But if you want to make this space scene, it won't take very long. Let's just delete everything in Blender by pressing A twice and delete. Just make sure my screencast keys is on. So everything I do now, you'll see what buttons I'm pressing on the bottom left there. So we're just going to replace everything with a mesh. Pressing Shift A, add mesh, rotating it in the x-axis 90 degrees, grabbing it in the y 8 to put it on the edge there. We'll just scale it up 8 times as well to make it nice and big. Now we're going to add a camera right in the middle where the cursor is, and we're going to reset the rotation by pressing Alt-R, and this makes it point straight down. And now when we rotate it in the x-axis 90 degrees, it'll be pointing directly towards our plane, which is perfect. Let's make this plane give off some stars now. So we'll make this a bit wider so you can see all the tabs. Go into the particle tab and give it a new particle system. So now you'll see that if we animate this, stars are just sort of falling, and that's not what we want. We want them to go towards the camera. So let's just turn off gravity. Go to the scene view, uncheck gravity. So now the particles just sort of move forwards, and that's what we want, but they sort of stop because they don't live long enough to go past the field of view. We're going to fix this by going to the particle tab and changing this lifetime to about 1,000. You never know how long your scene is going to be. And we want the scene to start off already surrounded by these stars. So we don't want the video to start and then these stars start rushing by you. You want to start and you're already surrounded by the scene. So the way we're going to do that is make this scene end at frame 1000. And let's bake this now. So we want the scene start about here, because there are stars everywhere. Let's just make the scene longer. Make the bake longer. And just start the scene from frame 500. And now it's going to render from 500 to 1000, and there are going to be stars the whole way. The only problem now is that there are more stars behind you than in front of you. You can just fix that by just moving the camera back slightly by grabbing it in the y-axis about -2. And that should be fine. Let's just see what this looks like. And alright, let's start thinking about how to render it. Let's go to cycles and just turn the background lighting off because we're in space. We want it to be pure black. If we render this now, we don't see anything. That's a step in the right direction. Let's make our star now. Go to layer 2. Press Shift A to add a icosphere. And go back to your first layer. Just change the material now on the icosphere. Call it star. I'm just going to make it an emission. And it's going to be pure white. Now select your plane and we're going to assign that sphere to the particles. So just scrolling down, selecting object here under render, duplicate object, so it's going to duplicate the sphere to all these particles, and that's fine. But you'll notice that we can actually see the plane as well. You can sort of see here where it catches the light from the stars. You can just turn this off by pressing emitter here, so the emitter is no longer shown. This is basically what we want. We're just going to make the stars smaller by playing with this size. Let's try 0.02, and that's fine. If we render this now, that's basically the sort of scene we want. That's good enough for our purposes. This isn't a rendering or a lighting tutorial, so this is fine. And we're going to move on and render this in 360-degree VR. So to render your scene in 360-degree VR, you want a version of Blender that supports it. And now I'm using 2.78. This is release candidate 2. I'll have a link to this in the description. Hopefully soon it'll be incorporated into the main version that you can just download from blender.org as well. So no matter what version you made your scene in, you can open it in this and just open up the scene that you made before. I'm going to do that there. Now, there are two main settings that we need to play around with. Firstly, just select the camera, go into the camera tab, and change it to panoramic. Now, change the panoramic type to equirectangular. Now, if we give this a render, let's just see what it looks like. Yeah, so this is what a 360-degree still looks like. It's basically taking the whole scene and wrapped it around to be displayed on this rectangle. That's basically the only setting we need to change. Everything else should work now in terms of 360 degrees. Let's just make this 3D as well, and it's really simple to do. Just go to the render layers tab, go down and take views, and you can keep it on stereo 3D. Now if you go back to the camera tab, it gives us a few more options to play with, and this first section you want to keep the same. You want to keep it on off axis, but the convergence plane, this is how far away the screen is from the camera. So everything in front of this screen will it'll look like it's in front of the screen, or it'll look like it's closer to you, and everything further away is going to look like it's further away from you. So just set this at a scene that's appropriate to the scene you're working with. And you can also play around with the interocular distance. If you make that bigger, then it's going to make the 3D effect more pronounced, so there's going to be more of a difference between things that are closer and further away. But this is going to be fine for our uses. We're just going to take spherical stereo, because that's what we want, and that grays out this setting, because it means you can't change it anymore. Now that all the camera settings and the scene settings are done, we're just going to make sure that it renders properly. So go to the render tab, and scroll down to this views format. And you want to make sure this is stereo 3D, and if you're uploading to YouTube, make sure this is top bottom, because that's the format that the YouTube metadata tool needs, and we'll get to that in a second. But for now, let's just make sure this renders correctly. Now, I usually recommend exporting any animation as still images and sequencing them together. You can find tutorials on YouTube about how to do that. For today, in the interest of simplicity, we're just going to render it straight to a video. This is really bad practice. Don't do this. I don't recommend it at all. But when you do make your video, whether it's here or from the sequencer, from your still images, make sure that the format is QuickTime, because again, that's what the YouTube tool needs later on. Also, to make sure your resolution is as high as possible, YouTube recommends 4K at least, which is 200% of 1080p, so that's a really quick way to set 4K in Blender. So we're just going to leave this to render, and I'm going to come back when that's done. Once you've rendered your video, you want to open up the YouTube spatial media metadata injector, and I'll have a link to download this in the description. So just open this up. It'll give you this little box. So just press open, find the video that you just made, and press open. And you want to tick this box, my video is stereoscopic 3D. Once you've done that, once you've ticked the second box, press inject metadata, and it'll suggest quite a sensible name for it. It's just the old name you had and then injected, and I keep that. So just press save, and now next to your render you'll have a video which has all the correct metadata injected. So you can just upload this to YouTube and it'll recognize it as a 360-degree 3D video. Thanks very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. Let me know in the comments below if you have any questions or if you have any other ideas for tutorials that you'd like to see. Also, you can support me on Patreon if you want to get the blend file to this scene that I made and to loads of my videos as well. So thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.